And now, your local forecast.
Welcome back to the forecast. I'm joined today by Chief Street, and we've got Lukey J.
Hi.
Or Lobu. How would you like to be referred to?
Maybe by my name today, I think.
Just Luke.
Just damn. All right, Luke. So we have Luke here. Luke is head of Global League Records.
Correct.
And also my manager. And does lots of cool things. You've just flown in from Ibiza. So we thought we'd get you straight. I didn't want to talk to you. I wanted to get you straight into the podcast. Didn't want to have a chat over the phone, catch up. I thought we could do it all here in the room together. So you're over the jet lag?
Yes, I actually didn't have any coming back this way. It was
that's
going
a flex.
It was going over.
Travel
it was
so
really
much.
bad.
Well, you weren't there very long, so that's a bit.
I was there for 7 days. So like 4 of them were jet lag.
Oh.
So, it's Ibiza. So everything kind of kicks off at midnight.
So it didn't matter?
I was getting up really early. So it did kind of matter because by midnight, I was absolutely toast. So I'm like, see you guys, you go out. I'm just going to have a nap and go to bed.
Well, I remember you were messaging me like the day you got there and you're like, I've got a panel to do right now and I'm not feeling too good.
Yeah, that happened. That was a bit spontaneous. And look, podcast when you're jet lagged and haven't slept for 36 hours, not the best experience, but I think it went all right.
A bit scrambled.
So
that was IMS, right?
Yeah, International Music Summit.
So as someone who has no idea what happens at one of those conferences or meetups, can you explain to me what it's like?
So everyone in the global electronic music space gathers. So you've got labels, publishers, managers, touring agents, booking agents, venues, festivals, tech companies. So it might be, everything from like your Beatports and your YouTubes to like emerging Web3, AI, all of that sort of stuff as well. And everyone kind of just hangs out together. This year it was at Destino Pacha, which has a nice pool overlooking the ocean. So everyone has a beer and stands by a nice pool and looks over the ocean and talks about music stuff.
So is it like more networking and you trying to meet all these people, or are you kind of discussing as a group, like this is where the path is going, what we're trying to achieve? Like, what do you think of what we're doing? How are you doing things? Or are you kind of just trying to shake hands and meet people and then go and make your connections through that?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. Like there's lots of different tracks. So there's an artist track. So there's a few artists that go there. There's this year they had the Point Blank Music School. Mm-hmm. So they have sessions in one area where you can go and learn about production, mixing, mastering, promotion, how to brand yourself, how to build yourself as an artist. Then there's like industry hot topics, I suppose, like publishing rights, songwriter royalties, how people aren't getting paid enough, what people can do about it, all of that sort of stuff. And then there's also like emerging technology, people showcasing like we've made this cool AI thing that does this and this is how it works and you should all come and use it. And then there's also like a lot of the hardcore industry people will you get an app and you can, it's basically like Tinder for music industry. You swipe left or right. You're like, I want to meet that guy. I want to meet that guy. I want to meet that girl. I want to meet that lady.
Well, and then it will match you and then you go
so if I want to meet you and you want to meet me, it says, hey, you've had a match with Chief Street and click here to organise a time. And you say, hey, mate, want to meet by the pool for a beer at 3? And you're like, sounds good.
Yeah, sure, mate. Anytime.
So like the hardcore people that are really there to make deals, they'll be like blocking their schedule up with 6 hours of meetings every 15, 30 minutes.
You may talk, Nick.
I've had no idea. Luke, let's swap spots so you don't have to turn your head.
Oh, so yeah. That works. Because I was like, I'm just going to keep hammering Luke with questions.
I'm just sitting in the corner like...
Chief Street.
Well, we agreed that we would sit on the same side, but then the camera wasn't set up, so that's why I was here.
And I had to run and get some hard drives.
But this is why we're having Luke on.
Nick got his morning workout in.
Do you want your drink bottle?
No, it's all good. Oh, yeah.
No. Nah, joking.
I think we got the same drink bottle here, just different design.
Thirsty Work podcast.
Hashtag sponsored.
The old Kmart. Surely.
Oh, great. Now I've got to edit that out.
Mine's
the old beep.
Mine's branded too, so I won't mention it.
Didn't bring my drink bottle.
So where were we? So what type of thing, what did you attend when you were there?
A little bit of everything. So it depends on where you're at. So if you've got a bunch of meetings, you do the meetings. If you're don't have meetings. You might go sit in on a session and be like, oh, this is cool, learning about how to promote new artists, how to break new artists, etc. Or you just wander around and eventually you'll bump into someone who's also wandering around with nothing to do and you'll be like, hey, how you going? Who are you meeting? And have a bit of a chat. And the thing at these things is like, especially this one in particular, is you never know who you're going to meet. Yeah. So you might meet someone who's, older, or you might meet someone who's younger, or you might meet someone who stereotypically doesn't look like someone who is at a certain level, I guess, in the industry. And I'm always mind blown by who is doing what. And some of the most unassuming people are often some of the most successful people. So you can't ever really judge a book by its cover or write anyone off when you meet them, because you never know what they might be doing.
Fun fact, I met Luke at a music conference.
Yeah, I wanted to find out your relationship and how it started.
Well, I was actually on a panel at a music conference. It was an Australian one, and it used to be really good because it was on the tail end of Stereosonic. So Stereosonic was a major festival in Australia for those listening in overseas. And I was playing at this festival, and then what would happen is the main stage acts would often go to this thing called EMC, Electronic Music Conference. They'd be on a panel, and it was a great opportunity for, just general punters to be able to ask their idols, questions about how'd you get started in the music industry, and they'd tell their story. Luke was at this particular one, I think it was in Sydney.
Yep.
And my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Rachel, she messaged me. She's like, a friend of mine, Luke's going to be there. You should meet him. I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And I met this lovely lad, and we just hit it off straight away. Luke was so cool, and it was really interesting because Luke was on the other side. Like, I was on the panel and Luke was the attendee, and we just hung out immediately after the event, and literally, how many years later? Since what was that?
I think it was like 2013.
I was just about to say, I was looking at an old poster.
Yeah, because I just got back from my
10 years.
My backpacking adventure.
Wow, so 10, and then we've just been thick as since.
You bought me beers, and that was it.
Yeah,
happier ever after. So, have you always been in the music realm, or did it only start? You said you got back from a trip.
Yeah, so I had a digital marketing web design business for 10, 12 years, which I left in 2012. Went and backpacked the world.
Discovered yourself.
Discovered myself.
Yeah.
But I had done a music production course prior to that. So
that's right. You did SAE?
Yeah. SAE here in Adelaide, and still got a lot of good mates from that experience as well that we still keep in touch with. But yeah, I sort of traveled the world and I was making music. So I've got some real wacky sounds that I picked up from my adventures. Pretty quickly learned that probably, I think I was 32 at the time, that at that point, my music making ability probably wasn't going to take off as quickly as I had thought. And thought, what if I combined my interest for music with my experience from business and marketing and stuff? And that's kind of where my interest in the music industry as a side to being a musician evolved. And yeah, it just happened to be that, met Nick in 2013 and he was doing what he was doing for the next few years, off doing Warped Tour in the States and flying in, flying out. Well, I think we caught up. Actually, you remember one of the very first times we caught up at your place.
Locked us out?
You locked us out of the house.
Yeah.
And we had to call Rach.
Yeah.
She was at work. She had to come home from work.
She had to pull sick leave to drive home.
To rescue you.
I was showing Nick some of my songs and we were working on one.
Right.
And we went out to get lunch and we came back and he's like, oh, don't have the keys.
So I'm super OCD about things like phone, wallet, passport, keys.
And hard drives.
Okay, so in my defense, I've just moved house. I am so tired. I've had 3 sleepless nights now because we have a very pissed off cat. Since moving, he's like, where am I? Why are all my things here? This is not my house. Doesn't smell like my house. So I'm going to meow all night in protest until you take me back to the other house. So I'm really sleep deprived. So I forgot the hard drives today and we've moved literally within 3, I think Google Maps says it's 300 meters away from the studio. It's 300 to 500 meters depending on which way around the block you go. So I'm short of breath because I ran to get these hard drives, which is a privilege.
Yeah.
I actually ran home. Anyway, I never forget keys. I actually had to call Rachel to let me into the house because I forgot my keys again. So when I'm really tired, I forget really important things. But yeah, that was fun because Luke was so lovely, and most other people would be like, this guy's an idiot, a moron, and probably wouldn't have hung out with me again. But yeah, we basically knew each other from making music together, And it was great because we sort of had this baseline establishment of we really love music and we're passionate about it. And Luke has been a part of my journey through, you know, the major label deals, you know, transitioning from one manager to another manager, the publishing deals that I've had. And what's been fascinating is that Luke and I think we're obviously best mates, but Luke's just had this vested interest in my career and has just had my back the last 10 years. And I haven't had anyone other than my wife or you know, your parents that has just genuinely, wholeheartedly been supportive no matter what. And so naturally the progression was that, you know, we founded Global League back in 2016. And that was kind of our vested interest in each other to do something in the music space together. But I've actually, as of this year, I'm stepping out as director and Luke is taking on full responsibility of the label because he has been killing it.
Thanks, mate.
Very proud of this bloke. The stuff that he's doing, like Global League was always intended to be global. I have definitely localized. And I've got something that I want to read. It's down by Luke. I'll read it a bit later though. We'll get to it later because I still want to find out more about Luke's trip. But I've got an interesting story about Luke and I and our manifestation. Everything that we've wanted to do, we've done. Good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is important because the last few episodes we've talked about, you know, we need to be around the right people, the right place, the right time. Luke and I have had big ideas and dreams and it's happening. Luke wanted to be a digital nomad, travel the world, meet cool people, do cool shit. And he's bloody doing it. I'm so pumped for him. Like the next stop is New York.
Yep.
And then ADE. I would love to go to Amsterdam for the music event, but I just announced to the world I'm expecting a baby girl.
Yes.
Yeah. About the same time as ADE.
Congratulations.
Don't know if it's the right
Poor
thing.
timing for travel. Great timing for life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Rach has already said, like, wholeheartedly, she would support me to do it. I just don't know if it's appropriate. So might need to, we'll see how we go with that one. But Luke's traveling the world and taking the record label globally. And that's exactly what we intended. We wanted to get people from around the world, which we've done. I mean, predominantly most of the artists now, we would say it's 50-50. It was predominantly American, right? And then there's lots of Aussies and it's probably about 50-50. I don't know.
I'd say we're probably leaning more, especially since you started the studio, we're probably leaning more towards Australian, Adelaide-based
and that's
artists.
probably because I've become so localized.
Yeah.
And now here with the recording studio.
People come in, use the studio, they learn about the label, they're like, cool.
Yeah, there's a direct link.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we needed to have the face of the brand out there traveling and networking and making the deals happen because as you know, an ongoing topic that we've spoken about is that it's all about who you know, really. And you need to find the right people and you can't really do that behind a screen of a phone.
No, like obviously the pandemic helped with that, with video conferencing and whatnot. But one of the big things that everyone at these conferences talks about is how great it is to actually be able to go out and meet in person again, finally, without having to worry about getting sick and stuff. So that's been good.
And going back to your original question about how Luke and I, you know, found common ground in the music industry, fun fact. So your partner, Hannah, I knew from way, way back when I was like late teens, early 20s. And Luke knew Rachel.
Yeah, that's what I was just piecing together before.
And that's a thing that's common in Adelaide for those tuning in from overseas. Adelaide is this small country town where everybody is like 3 degrees separation. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can always, there's like 2 people to link probably some way.
Yeah. Which is,
you went to school with them, yeah.
So, you know, if you're in a traffic jam and you honk at someone, normally you end up
probably your auntie
at the destination and you're like, I did this actually on the weekend. We went to a 1-year-old's birthday party. Whew, living my best life. Huge. It was nuts. Anyway, we went to this park and as we're pulling into the car park, this elderly couple are just hesitating. I had to give way to them, but they were giving way to me. Like, just get in the car park.
Yeah, I hate that.
And I look at them, what are you doing? It was the grandparents of the 1-year-old.
Yep. Classic.
You can't do that as you're pulling up to the party.
Oh no, rookie again, sleep deprivation, moving house, the studio's being renovated. My threshold of tolerance is like, seriously, the cat is going up for sale.
No.
If he doesn't let me sleep tonight.
I was going to say, in the Colonel's defense, it's not the first time he's been shifted.
I would have thought he'd be pretty used to it by now.
Locations.
Colonel.
Without his permission.
Well, so the Colonel, the reason the cat is called the Colonel is not because we think we're high and mighty. It's because we found him as an abandoned stray kitten at KFC. Right? This flea-ridden, he looked like a rat. I remember Luke rocked up to our house and he's like, what is that? There's this small little rat. Like, it's a cat. It's like, is it?
I tell you what, though, in terms of glow ups, the
shit.
Colonel's had a big glow up.
Do you have
He's
a
the most.
before and after?
He is so
Yeah.
majestic now.
Oh,
Was not to start with.
no. And the thing is, we were so love blind. We looked at this cat, like, isn't he just the cutest little kitten? He's like, "Wah."
Yeah.
Was not.
Garbage cat.
We had to leave that house. He was the reason we had to leave that house. Ringworm, fleas, like,
Just bringing all the disease.
yeah, I shouldn't publicly acknowledge that we left the house because of that. Anyway, the cat should be used to moving because he lived on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transient lifestyle.
Luke and I have known each other now a long time, and when I got out of all these deals, and you know, it's interesting because I've said this before, I take full responsibility for where my career's at. The great thing is that Luke has been a sounding board for all the problems, like all the good things, all the bad things, and we've learned so much. And the best part about that was that I could become almost like the test subject. So, okay, with Global League, we have an exclusive license agreement, not an exclusive artist agreement. And the difference being is that we sign the record, not the artist. And I was only ever signed as an artist. And while that is fantastic, there are definitely times and places where an artist should be signed to a record label. When my A&R left that label, I got forgotten.
Yeah.
That happens when I can't just walk down because
When you're on the other side of the world.
correct, and just say, "Hey guys, you know, like I'm here. I brought you a coffee. Like let's talk about my next single." When it's like, "Hey, do you want to schedule this meeting?"
It's easy to just shaft you, really.
Also, like, you got to remember that was 8 years ago, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't like we had the Instagrams and the things that we do now. Like, it wasn't just the Flickr DM or Flickr email type.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
absolutely
It wasn't
correct.
Zooms ready
yeah,
to go.
Yeah, it was different
Yeah,
time.
you couldn't just FaceTime someone.
Yeah, that's rough.
And the personal relationships that I'd created all were based off the manager, Evan, that I started with. And Evan, for whatever reason, we couldn't contact him. And so they were hitting roadblocks. They were getting in touch with me. I didn't know where things were at. And so things just fell apart. And Luke has been a part of that whole journey. I was like, I'd call Luke. I'm like, oh, this is what's happening.
Mm.
And so I feel now the natural progression for Luke to be manager, I don't even like that term, manager. I feel like you are
That's because you're unmanageable.
This poor bloke has been asking me for a visualizer for Spotify Canvas for like 2.5 weeks. Like, dude, can you make a 7-second thing? I'm like, yes, I will do it. And honestly, I have tried each night. I've gone to do it and something has just like, I'll blame the cat.
I need like one of those, you know, now, not that this is what anyone should have, but you know those dog collars when they bark and it zaps them?
Yeah.
Now, I would never recommend anyone has that because I think it's not inhumane for a dog, in dog.
Animal cruelty.
Animal cruelty. But Nick needs one of those.
Yeah, I do.
And every time he
Zapper.
doesn't get back to me, I can just zap him and be
I tell you what, though,
visualizer.
I think though, everything I've done the last 2 weeks is to streamline my life. Like I have no more excuses. There's no travel delay. There's no, like I will be here all the time. So as of today, I hand the keys to the old place back after this episode. And I now live within 300 meters of the studio. So when Luke's like, I need something. All right.
No excuses.
And you're going to be here all the time. Like you're going to make a lot more appearances on this podcast, please.
I'd just like to say that Chief has witnessed that and as the entire world
man.
listening to this podcast.
Absolutely.
So,
But I think talking to the camera, I think this is an accountability test. I think having one of the things I'm going to talk about with the
All right, great. I like it. What's the date today? We'll mark it in stone.
sign that.
18th of May, Thursday. Nick is now going to be available and accountable at all times.
Okay, so YouTube and Spotify, forgive me, this episode isn't going to be as edited as the other ones because I'm going to put it out tomorrow.
All right, I expect it to be out tomorrow.
Accountability.
The first test.
Here we go. So it's going to be a late one for Nico.
Yeah. You're going to be handing the keys back at 8 p.m.
Okay, look, let me just... I found this while I was clearing out the garage. So in the garage, I had a shelf in the back corner and that was the emergency shelf. So if anything went wrong, like there was a fire, an emergency, go to that shelf, grab everything, run. Because of that, I just neglected it. Just don't even touch that shelf. I found something really important. Luke and I back in 2016 made this document, and this document is something that we've somehow manifested, not even knowingly. And it's a pretty thick document.
Yeah.
It has everything from what is our goal, what is our marketing strategy, business plan, everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to summarize it instead of reading it word for word.
It's a long document.
It's a long document. I'm not going to say what the name of the document is because we may still do this. the funny thing is that as I talk about it, you realize we've already done it. So the goal was to provide an affordable first-class facility for startup artists and bedroom producers who want to be amongst like-minded creatives to share, explore and grow with the electronic music production community of Adelaide through education, collaboration, facilities with a keen focus on togetherness. Nice work. This was before ChatGPT. So we actually
had to write it.
We actually had to write this. So the idea was, it's here in writing. We want to create 2 music studios for full-time use and hire. As a startup / bedroom musician, it is often difficult to find and expensive to hire a professional studio, and rarely they're set up specifically for electronic producers. And then, okay, we talk about how. So we called it something space, music studios, a videography and photography area, and a shared co-working area for creatives.
That's literally where we are right now.
So education, we have artist development, which is now our boardroom, which is providing regular seminars and events focused on electronic music production, such as mixing, mastering, composition from experts in each field. We endeavour to collectively raise the skill set and knowledge of local talent.
Spot on.
We could talk about things like mental health and mindfulness.
That's pretty early to be
This
on
is
that
20,
as well.
2016 we wrote this. And we talk about co-working with a difference. So lots of the facilities. In fact, we had Global League originally was down at the Tonsley Cohab where we would just clock in and out.
Use the boardroom.
Correct. So we talked about that in this, and we talked about how we needed to have something that was purpose-built that people could come. In terms of manifestation, I mean, it talks about, God, this goes on. Wow, we've literally done like potential business partners, future plans, potential locations. Like we've also done all the expenses. We talked about revenue.
Bet you they were inaccurate.
No, they're actually, well, they're pretty accurate. The expenses are way over. Monthly revenue, pretty decent. Anyway, the reason I brought this out is that Matrix Recording Studio is effectively what this document is. And it's also interesting too, because going back to what Luke's been doing with all the travel, you really wanted to do that, where I had been doing that and I was actually pulling away. I was like, no, actually, I love the destinations of where travel takes me, but I hate traveling. I mean,
look, I'm gonna say, having just done 60 plus hours of travel in the space of 7-10 days or whatever it was, takes it out of you. And then, DJs are doing this all the time. But
absolutely.
They're not doing 36-hour flights, 30-hour plus flights.
No, you normally
regularly.
stay there.
It's normally a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there.
Yeah.
Maybe 8, 9, 10. But going to Europe from Adelaide and back in the space of 11 days, 10 days is a hard one. But I can see why you'd get tired of that being based in Adelaide.
Well, I need to correct myself from episode 1 where I said that Adelaide doesn't have an international airport. We have a terminal that's international, and I've since spoken to Trent Vine, one of our artists, and he works at Flight Centre, so he knows. He's like, yeah, currently it only services like 4 international airports. What would be really cool is one day, I think, eventually we'll just be able to jump on a plane here from Adelaide and go direct to LA. I don't know if that's a thing yet.
No, it's not a thing. But it's only an hour to Sydney and then you're straight there.
Yeah, I know. It's just the
connection.
Yeah. Well, you're good though. You only take carry-on, where I always pack everything important in there.
You only take carry-on?
Yeah.
Even
This
for like
guy
longer
is-
trips?
Luke's amazing at what he takes.
I only had 7 kilos of luggage for my entire
And that was just
6-month
his underwear.
trip around backpacking.
Okay, wait. What about the one where you just went to Europe for...
I had a case for that. Yeah, because
Okay.
that was for
Oh, but that was
5 months.
5 months. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were away for ages.
But what, if you go for 2 weeks, that's just carry on?
And you didn't take a laptop or an iPad or anything.
not the last trip.
And you didn't. That was fine.
90% of what I can, like emails and, messaging, disco links or SoundCloud links to people, all that stuff you can do on your phone. So I don't really need a laptop. Like I mainly use my laptop if I'm producing or if I'm doing heaps of data entry, which is, the fun part of running a label.
Yeah.
Which none of us really realised
Oh,
would be the case when we started.
It's been fun. We had effectively this, we'll say, quote unquote intern that was really interested in being part of the label, because I think people see like the romantic, awesome side of things like, oh, it's so cool. You're going to like meet all these artists and do all this cool stuff, whatever. And we gave this person a laptop. Said, this has got all the workings of the label and we'd like you to do data entry. And like, yeah, amazing. Then, I think a couple of weeks later, wasn't for them.
It is. And that is, part of the discussions at IMS and stuff like that is just about how much data there is in the music industry. like metadata, publishers, writers, splits, agreements, terms. Like it's just so much stuff. Even just releasing a track, you've got UPCs, ISRCs, ISWCs. Like it's just
takes a long time.
Would
to
you like to
learn
explain
all of
what that is? What an ISRC is?
code?
Yeah, so
Right,
your,
is that
your
right?
ISRC is your international standard recording code for a track. So every track has a specific one. Even if you're releasing a remix or a cover of a particular track, it has a new ISRC. It's to do with the master recording. Each new master recording has its own code.
Can I ask you a question? So say I create a track and then I send it out and then I sign it with you and you put the code on the track.
Mhm.
The old version I sent around, that won't get recognized, will it?
No. Well, Luke will have a second opinion to this. The first one is no. Luke
Yeah.
will say yes. No, as a mastering engineer, I encode.
Yeah, you put that
It's a
data in
dither
there.
setting, so it's inaudible. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we can put in the metadata,
Yeah.
the code. Luke, on the other hand, though, would know about the.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I don't know the technicalities behind it, but I know that you can also distribute a track without embedding it, and you put the ISRC code in the metadata, and it associates it with it that way as well.
Yeah, 'cause
So
of
like
the
when
audio.
you're using Shazam and stuff, it picks it up based off of all of that stuff. So
We should interject with a fun fact. As a label, we now Shazam our demos
yeah,
because we've had a few submissions that we've put out.
What, just straight up rips?
Yeah.
there was one particular one.
Jeez, come on, people.
That was a long time ago, but that was just blatantly like
Early days.
I think it was pitched up 2 tones.
Yeah, it was one semitone. It was like,
That was one. Yeah.
you're more musical than I am. It was like G to G sharp or
And
something.
we were devastated because we have a contract that says,
Yeah.
you are transferring copyright of the master
So
recording.
now you own it. So
Correct.
you're
And then-
we
the
don't
one.
own it, but we have control over
you
it.
have control of it.
yeah.
And we've put it.
Are you
we've put it out.
accountable?
And then this YouTube comment within the first couple of hours of being uploaded was like, this song is someone else's.
Oh my God.
How could you guys do this? How could you put this record out? And Luke and I were like, oh my, and we were in Melbourne, I think.
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah.
And we stopped everything and we were just like calling distributor, getting on computers, and we're like, nah, we're taking this track down. Reached out to the artist. The artist was just like,
I sent it to a bunch of people. Someone must have stolen it.
yeah, someone must have stolen my song. And then we looked
Jeez.
up, the song had been released 2 years prior. And we said to this guy, like, okay, how could this possibly happen? If this song's already been released 2 years ago, how could they have released your song? Oh, the stems must have been leaked. And my producer buddy that kind of made it for me. I know, it just got more.
I think the trouble that we have with the industry today, with Splice and other
Mhm.
platforms where you can download melodic progressions, stems,
Yeah.
loops, whatever.
Yeah.
People can buy these packs that will have a particular melody. They'll buy packs that have a particular bass line, and they're just drag and dropping them into Ableton. And it's very easy for 2 people to just drag the same collection of sounds into a project. And if they're not being creative with it and creating their own stuff, it's going to be possible.
What are your thoughts, Chief, on that?
Well, I think Splice is a tool and I love using it.
I
Like,
love
you got to
Splice.
be careful. You got to make sure that like the way you use the sample, like you said, you got to make it yours. You got to make it unique. What you put around it is very important. But I like using those samples. I've created songs that the verses or like whenever you get a vocal, like it's based around that melody. It really facilitates the creation of a track. You can start something like instantly without sitting there and being like doop and like going through all these
Sorry,
crazy
like what?
going through all these sounds and just I like it, but you do have to be a bit careful. But I also don't really have an issue with it. There's a track, it's like major tracks on radio that use Splice samples.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
well, if they can do it, then why
Well,
can't I?
I-
But I don't agree. That you should just drop, baseline drop like
Well, that's what they're doing.
bass drops and be like, oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
basically at that point, you're just like piecing together a puzzle of samples.
Yeah.
Got another question for you and the audience. I don't know if you guys listen to mainstream radio. I've been listening to a lot of it recently. Either the trades have had the radio cranked next door, well, whatever, or we've been traveling, moving house. And they've been blasting old records that I loved, and they've they've taken the instrumental and they've put these really bad top line vocals. Like I feel like there was a huge opportunity for someone to do something really cool. Just hit it.
Oh, sorry, I went like this. So I tried.
For those listening,
It's a bit cold in here.
try not to.
If you,
Are you cold? I am. I mean,
I'm just saying, Chief's got a bit of a runny
I'm
nose from
fine.
the
Continue.
chill.
sorry for those listening. They would have no idea what we're talking about. Chief's just trying to blow his nose into the microphone. So anyway, there's all these old school records that we love, and people are redistributing them with a new top line vocal. And
It's called the David Guetta effect.
Well, I don't know. David Guetta did what was it? I'm Blue with BB Rexa, and it's so catchy.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm feeling all right. That one, right?
Now I know BB. She is a really, really awesome person. Did Warped Tour with her back in 2015. She's an incredible vocalist. I thought the songwriting was very direct, like accurate at the, let's just make this basic and we can sing along.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, this is such
But
a
that's the thing, right? And this is the argument we have with producers at the label all the time is you've got your technical producers who are like, this is technically, unique and brilliant and whatever. And then you've got, this is going to have 20,000 people at a festival in America waving their arms in the air, vibing because it's simple and it's repetitive and it's familiar and they can sing it and they remember it.
Simple's great. I stress it so much. I get artists that come into rap or whatever and they're like trying to just flex the whole time. I'm like, you will have more response if you just repeat the same thing 3 times and then on the 4th make it different and do that.
There's a formula.
It's not that. And I enjoy those songs more because like you said, you can follow them easy. Like people aren't really going to connect as much with how you tweaked your synths compared to just like a really nice melody with a simple tone.
You and I know a producer that could have done much more had they not tuned a drum kick for 16 days.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like you get caught up and then the more you listen to it, you're always going to find these imperfections. You're better off just not trying to churn things out quickly and make like suffer on quality, but you got to push the ideas out. Simple's good.
So I don't use the kick drum that you hear in the final master is not the kick drum I start with. So I just pull in, I've just got a standard kick that I always pull into everything. It's a real kick drum. It's not a like tuned or dance kick. I'm like, that'll do. Kind of stole that from my idol Deadmau5. Apparently that's what he does. He just has like a bunch of kicks. He's like, whatever. It's like a placeholder. That'll do. Get the idea out.
When do you change that though?
Usually in the mix down.
Like right at the end.
Yeah, so it becomes very objective.
Because I find like I'll usually get the bones out and then once I'm like happy with the idea, I'm like, okay, now I need to make sure I change all my drum sounds to make sure that they all fit.
I guess depends on the genre too. I think you're right. If I've got a progressive like house track or electro house track, the kick is definitely very, very important.
Yeah.
And so I might probably get that sooner than the mix. But for instance, a dubstep track, I wouldn't really care much about the kick until the very end.
Okay.
Only because I probably got sick of it by the end of the track and I need to make it sound better. Yours though, you've got an 808, which is just, 80% of the track.
Yeah.
So if you neglected to spend any time on that, it would sound pretty awful.
Well, I pretty much get, like I said, the skeleton down. And then if I think like there might be something here, I'll go to the drums.
It goes to splice.
Yeah, go to splice.
I love that you just reduced Chief's music to 20% of the song.
Like, 80% 808, 20% skill, 100%.
You're basically just a glorified kick drum.
You're just an 808.
I mean, it helps because I don't have to worry about sub.
Simple is better.
You always say your sub bass is great.
Your sub bass is so good. I've mastered a couple of Chief songs and I haven't had to do anything the low end.
It's literally a basic preset called hip hop sub bass that comes with Ableton. And
I've got a song coming out. What date is it? It's 18th on 20th, right?
26th.
Oh, it's not for a while then.
Chief's got one on the 25th.
Are we all battling? Wait, you're the day after me?
Yeah.
And then the track I did for Perry, for Sacred, is on the 24th.
Hey, how cool is this?
Bang,
We're
bang.
releasing consistently.
Yeah, it's great.
It's happening. But the bass in the next track is the one you showed.
Bass.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. Dude,
is it 80% of the track or is it just
90?
Yeah.
It's just
Cool.
it's actually a lot. I listened to it in the car the other day and I was like, probably a bit too much. I don't care. This is a work in progress album.
Yeah.
Criticize it. It's from this was it 2015, this song? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I should have put that in the track title.
Yeah, I was wondering that, but here we are.
Or 2015.
Okay, I put it to the audience. I'm putting out all these songs. So this is 2 of 36. If you haven't already checked out 1 of 36 called Power, that's gone out. I'm so pumped. All these songs are coming out. I'm releasing music again. Woo! Because they're work in progress, do you think I should put the date in the track title, or does anybody really care? I feel like some people are going to listen to it that don't know me, and they're
That's
like,
what I mean. Why is there this random timestamp on it?
yeah, does it matter? Who
You know
cares?
what as
Are we
well,
overthinking
though?
it? We're overthinking it.
I think with your style of music, because you're so creative and you come up with your own unique sounds so much, you're never really trying to follow whatever trend is currently trending, right? So people aren't going to listen to your stuff and necessarily think that's old or that was from 2015. They're just going to be like, that is uniquely M4 Sonic.
Can I ask a question? There's some songs on Spotify that I just don't feel really represent me as an artist. Do you think we should take them down?
No.
You reckon keep everything up?
Yeah.
They're probably
'Cause
buried as, right? Anyway.
You never know who's going to vibe with the track, right? There was a time and a place where you felt passionate about these tracks,
Yeah, that's fair.
and you wouldn't have released them if you didn't.
That's a very
And
good
just
call.
because they may be not necessarily the direction you're going now or the vibe you want to create now, doesn't mean that there's not someone out there who's going to hear them
Mm.
and it's going to connect with them on a particular level, and they're going to vibe it and play it and stream it. You never know.
And also, you never know when it's going to come back around.
Yeah.
Like, that, Stranger Things, running up that hill by, I can't
Kate
remember.
Bush.
What if she took that down?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
might just come up out of nowhere. Plenty of old songs
Yeah.
have this weird resurgence.
Land a sink and blow up.
That's very true. Okay. Well, there you go. I'm glad we had
What
that.
harm is it doing by living there anyway?
I guess it comes down to consolidation. So I sometimes get trapped in wondering what people think of me, which is impossible. Like, we can't ever identify the perception someone else has of you. You just can't. It's just not a thing. But I sometimes get trapped in my thoughts that if someone was viewing, it's like the elevator pitch. In the limited time that they spent on that platform, on YouTube or on Spotify, which are the two main ones, what would they identify me being as? And I think it's probably just something that I'm struggling with as an artist right now, is I don't know. So when you list off, your major acts that are doing great things, you can pretty clearly summarize that artist is this type of DJ or this type of producer. We talked in other episodes about how I've moved on from the Launchpad. It will make a resurgence when I'm truly passionate about it again, because I've had this really cool idea of incorporating it into the podcast. But at this point in time, I am now this music producer of what genre?
Electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, working with vocalists and pop singers as well has really, I've done a lot of sort of research into this as well, right? It's very rare you go, like a lot of people will, if they're like a super fan of an artist, go to their Spotify page and play all of an artist's tracks from start to finish. Spotify organizes it by most popular. You've got your most popular 5 or 10 at the top, whatever. So if a track isn't one of your most popular ones anyway, it's not going to be appearing in that top one. So they've got to go right into singles and EPs and go right through your library, which I don't think a lot of people do, right?
It's not great. I've tried that before. I'll be like, I'm trying to find this person's song. I don't know what album it exists on. I open up their top 5 songs or whatever. It's not even there. I'm like, how do I find this song that I've heard on?
And then you do shuffle play or whatever, and you end up hearing 6 different remixes of the same track.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm done listening to this track. I don't need to hear all 6 in a row.
It's not
I did
great.
that last night. I was doing a workout and I put an artist on and got in their remix loop somehow. And I just had the same song 5 times. So I think we put a lot of effort into but it's going to be on my Spotify, or, if you're a vocalist and you've got your own pop situation going on and you feature on, say, a hard dance track, you're like, I don't want that on my Spotify because people going to listen to my pop stuff don't want a 3 a.m. massive kick drum banger coming through. But how many people are doing that anyway? You can look at your Spotify stats and see what's algorithmic, what's user playlist, how much is actually being streamed from your library. And unless you've got a real solid fan base that is going to your particular profile on Spotify and streaming all of your tracks through your profile, they're probably listening to your songs on their own playlist. They've probably created their own playlist of their favorite tracks. They might even be listening to your playlist.
Yeah, that's important that we make our own.
Which is why as an artist, you make, this is my playlist. This is the songs I want you to listen to.
Right.
Pump these ones. These are my best ones, You used to make albums the best of.
Now it's playlists.
Now it's playlists. So I think there's going to be less and less emphasis on what is and isn't showing on your profile. And sometimes, if you actually go to an artist, like I remember back in the day, I went to like Afrojack's YouTube channel when he was like, 2012 massive era Afrojack. And I remember going back to, and even Avicii, you go back to some of the early stuff, very melodic, but very basic. The old Avicii track Penguin, which I think became one of his big ones. They put a vocal over the top of it, but it was an instrumental before that. It was called Penguin. And it got, decent amount of views, but it wasn't top shelf Avicii at that time until it had the vocal on it. And same with Afrojack. Some of those early tracks, you listen and you're like, you can tell that there's talent there. You can tell that these people were going to become who they became, but they were nowhere near the quality of the stuff they were putting out at that time. And it just goes to show that you can't be like, I don't want that track on my profile now because it's not representative of what I am now. It's all part of the journey.
Yeah.
And your fans are your fans because they probably heard you back then and they want to continue on the journey with you. So yeah, it's with these throwback tracks. Yeah, I can see where that concern comes up and stuff like that. But people are your fans for a reason and they're going to love what you put out most of the time.
I've got some music that lives on SoundCloud and a couple on Spotify that are from like the early days. And I felt the same about it where I'm like, well, do these need to live here anymore? I don't like the production on them anymore. But I find it kind of gives the growth.
Well, it's the same with this podcast. I feel like I'm hoping that we don't have to really edit it much because it is authentic. It's just
Chief blowing his nose.
Just Chief blowing his nose into the microphone and sort of the quality of this will keep getting bigger and better and better and better and better. But I think it's nice for people to see the journey. We started off with different mics. We started with different lighting and
different cameras.
And, next door we're building the next iteration of what will eventually be. This won't necessarily be a podcast anymore. It'll just be a TV show because I want to make Face in a big way back on YouTube and have that engagement. Oh, talking about accountability, I keep saying in every episode, like comment on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't responded to anyone's comments. Can we do that after?
You can.
No, I was thinking you and I because it's generally...
Mate, it's your channel. No. I'm kidding. Yeah, we can do that.
We can jump in and just thank a few people for comments because we do appreciate it. We have been seeing it. Just life's been hectic.
Yeah. Well, like Luke said earlier, you've been very busy. Self-inflicted, but rightfully so, you've been very, very busy. I think I messaged you last night being like, I hope you've been able to breathe. By the way, here's some notes for tomorrow.
Yeah, I haven't been posting about the episodes we've been putting out. It's been mental, but I think it was a good move to get renovations done here, and because we had to close shop regardless. So while the studio's been shut, may as well move house. But now he's scratching his beard into the microphone.
Dude,
this guy.
Do you want me to just leave?
Amateur hour.
Amateur. At least when I was editing,
we're supposed to be ganging up on him. I don't like this.
When I was editing the last episode, Miles kept clearing his throat, and that's fine. You do what you got to do. Just don't do it into the microphone. Yeah, there you go, mate. Just swing it away.
Right.
This guy.
Yep.
Enjoy that on your drive home, listening in.
Luke.
Yes.
You had something for Nick.
Case it's, we're in winter here now. So one thing,
no way.
Cool. So
that's awesome. Luke's just pulled out a umbrella with Ultra Records branding on it.
So Ultra sponsors they have these umbrellas at pretty much every dance music event.
Is it bad luck to open an umbrella indoors?
Yes. Well, I mean,
I'm not going to open it all the way.
We're just going to, it looks cute.
Oh, that's
so basically
wicked.
like at ADE, it's a bit more useful than Ibiza because it rains a lot more there in October in Amsterdam. But they have these big buckets of Ultra umbrellas and you can grab one and be safe from the rain.
I really want
carry on.
I figure it's good to have at the studio for those
they also
banh mi runs.
I love it. Good stuff, Ultra. Good stuff, Luke. That's wicked. That's going to look great in the kitchen. Like, do you need an umbrella? Here's one from Ultra Records.
Just bring it back.
They also make beach balls, and at Winter Music Conference in Miami, one of the pool parties that Ultra threw. I was meant to play, but none of my gear works. We took this massive flight case.
Don't maintain eye contact while he does that.
That's exactly look away.
Trying to put the cover back on this umbrella. You guys are so immature. Anyway. I had beach balls and I tried to bring one home and I couldn't because it popped in the luggage.
You could have done it in a different location.
You put the umbrella case back on. You show us how it's done. How do you put an umbrella case
Let's
on?
all go around the table and show each other how we put the umbrella.
Definitely doing it over here.
Oh, boy.
How old are you guys?
I'm
43.
29.
43 next month.
Oh, that's the other thing. We should have told the live audience, like, there you go. Nicely done. Well done. Thank you. Your years of experience have shown us how to put an umbrella away. Luke just doesn't age. He's like Benjamin Button. Somehow he seemingly gets younger each year. Like, it's, yeah. What's the secret, mate?
It's not true. Sunscreen and stress, I think. They're my two keys.
You should listen to a podcast by Dr. David Sinclair. They're talking about how they can now reverse age cells, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I keep getting guys in my TikTok telling me to fast for 36 hours to like regenerate your cellular structure.
Yeah.
But then they also say consult your doctor and do your own research. So
Yeah. There's
yet to be researched.
hormesis. So we're talking about getting the body into essentially we've become too comfortable because when back in like caveman days, if you had to go out and hunt and eat whatever, your body's like, oh, we're eating, things are good, I'm warm, I'm happy, whatever, and it would store fat. Nowadays, because we eat all the time and whatever, we're storing too much and, talking about diabetes and lifestyle choices, whatnot. But effectively, we're aging ourselves because we're too comfortable. Where when the body is under some sort of pressure, pressure makes diamonds. That joke. And if we...
Nick's going to live till he's 150.
Because I am so stressed all the time. So, it's actually good for us to be under pressure. We're not talking about stress. We don't want to have lots of high-level stress because high levels of cortisol, not good. But
you need to be out doing stuff.
You need to be out doing stuff. The thing that interests me about Luke is that this podcast talks about chronological age and biological age. And I actually think that Luke has a biological age that is much younger than his chronological age. And it's to do with lifestyle, but it's also to do with the way that Luke is able to remain calm. So Luke does get stressed, but not to the point that he's giving himself cancer because he is internalizing and breaking down and whatever. So Luke manages to keep a really nice baseline, which I don't know how you do it. Yeah, I mean, you go for beach walks and you meditate and...
Yeah, I think meditation's important.
You seem to have a very good mental health awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, you have a lot of more life experience and you get to points where you're like, does this matter? Does this not matter? Is this as stressful as I think it is? And don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of stress.
You definitely have, yeah.
Had a melanoma in 2012 as well. So there was a time where I stressed myself whether the melanoma and the stress was related, yet to be confirmed.
You were leaving your last business.
Yep.
Things hadn't gone to plan.
Yep.
There was a lot of things weighing on your shoulders.
Yep.
And, we all have cancer cells, but our immune system usually knocks them out. And
I was having coffee for breakfast. I was having pies and iced coffees for lunch. I was having KFC for dinner every night. I wasn't having the most nutritious lifestyle, very stressed. Whether all that stuff was connected, I don't know. But it was definitely from then that my mindfulness and my not stressing about things began, because the doctor at the time was like, your immune system was compromised.
Yep.
You're too stressed. You haven't been eating well. You haven't been looking after yourself. And that was a real turning point for me because I was like, shit, like 32 at the time. Yeah, I caught it early. Everything was fine. But I could have not caught it. And that could have been very bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah, from then on, don't stress.
Yeah, my mum's had cancer twice and I can definitely, well, not the first one, I was too young, but the second round can definitely identify like the peak of stress that then resulted in just, complete immune failure.
Yep.
So, let's take away for the audience.
Don't be stressed.
Try not to be stressed.
I mean,
easier said than done.
I'm trying to think. I think I've been around you guys for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And Luke has always been like the rock.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
and that is what you need in a manager.
Your demeanor is always just like so straight. You're down to the point. You don't get shook.
I thought you meant I was a Hollywood superstar.
Yeah, you're ripped and so on. Nah.
Like David Guetta. Ripped, mate.
But yeah, and your outlook is always very positive. And yeah, I think it's something that I look at and strive to wish that I could be like that.
We
Because
just don't
I
hang out
get
with
shook
Luke.
so easily. I'm so impatient. I think the tiniest things are the biggest deal. And I think that, I'd like to be more like you.
I mean, it does also make you very funny.
Me.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, you're hilarious.
Yeah, not intentionally, but you're laughing at me, not with me.
You walk in and you're just having the worst day.
See, that's got to change. I went to a course yesterday, actually, that was about resilience. And it really hit hard, to be honest. The presenter, just went through, he opened up quite a lot, which I didn't expect from this course. I only got plugged into it the day before. They're like, we got a free spot. I was like, all right, whatever, I'll go. I had no idea what to expect. He started telling us all his his problems that he's experienced throughout his life. I'm like, dude, what am I complaining about?
Yeah.
Like, really, why am I worried about these tiny things where, I've been so blessed to have a really fortunate life where I haven't had to go on through all these traumatic things,
100%.
How lucky am I?
Oh, okay, so one of the things I've been doing, sorry, I've got to clear my throat. Hang on. That's better. One of the things I've been doing is just of late, the last couple of weeks, is expressing gratitude every morning.
Yep.
And often at night before I go to bed, because it puts me into a much better headspace. It's so funny when you zoom out, right? And I get trapped in my own head all the time. And that's why I love this podcast. It's a vehicle for me to get out of getting caught in the brain. When I zoom out, I'm like, I have nothing to complain about. And I'm not trying to flex, I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to talk to my subconscious, because my subconscious doesn't listen to anybody else but my conscious mind. And what I'm realizing more and more as I get older is that the conscious mind is constantly telling the subconscious where we're at. And you can lie to it. You can. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to buy a Lamborghini tomorrow, and then you do it. That's not how it works. But when you have negative self-talk, or when you're like, oh, I just feel like crap, or, oh, my life sucks, this, your body resonates with that frequency, that energy. And I'm not trying to sound like a hippie and get all weird, but it's a thing. What I've been doing is I wake up in the morning, I'm like, my wife is happy and healthy. My son is happy and healthy. The business is going through a massive transition right now, and I'm so in over my head, but I'm fucking going for it.
Yeah.
Like, bring it on. What a privilege to be in that position even to do that. My friends are happy and healthy, right? We're doing cool stuff. Even this podcast is such a privilege to be able to do this with you guys. Like, it's kick-ass. Like, I feel like it's given my life and my artistry more purpose and meaning. Everything's good. Even moving house, like that's one of the most stressful things you can do as an adult. And it's been great. Threw out heaps of crap we didn't need. It's been a nice cleanse, reset. I'm now in walking distance to the studio. Expressing all this gratitude has just made every day feel awesome. And you get quite granular. You start thinking like, I love that smell of rain. I love the fact that it's sunny right now and that I can feel it on my skin. Like things, you just realize that we're so privileged. But what really was the driving force for this is I've got a friend who has stage 4 cancer. And the doctors basically said, this is the time frame, and stay positive. Like there's things that we might be able to do. You got to stay positive. And this person is just a fighter. Like I'm not actually worried about this person. I feel like he's going to be all right. But that is a problem. That is a fucking problem. Like,
Yeah.
And I would love to encourage more people that need to zoom out and just look at things a little differently, because everybody has different circumstances, but I am definitely one that can get trapped in this like tunnel vision of I'm in the pits, but you're not. And we're so privileged that we're not in a war right now. We have electricity. We've got really good drinking water. Like we are in the top, I think, 3% or something, maybe 1%. I don't know. The fact that the lives that we live, that we're so blessed to be, and the fact, I asked Gary Vee, I think he loves this stat, the fact that we're a human, I think it's Gary Vee, he's like,
Getting deep.
1 in 4 billion chance of actually existing.
I mean, you could have been an ant. Like, that would have sucked. Like, the fact that you are the most intellectual being that we know that exists currently, and anything that you want to achieve in this life, give or take circumstances, you can do it.
Yes, we're all very fortunate. When I rock up here. All right. Box that up.
And that's a wrap. Thank you.
It's good to get that deep. I think, it's like
Oh, look. I'm
appreciation around the table.
I'm a
Joe
deep-
Rogan, watch out.
I'm a deep person.
Forecast is coming.
Let me bring out my very obscure source, Gary V.
I think am I wrong? Is it Gary Vee?
No, yeah, he quotes
Probably.
that a lot. I
Yeah.
can't remember what the number is, but yeah.
It's like a
No,
true.
and I think that, getting back to the whole stressing part, like traveling is a very good way to make you realize how fortunate you are as well. You know, you see that other countries, even, you know, first world European countries are doing it tough.
Yeah.
You know, even the UK at the moment, pretty tough. A lot of people living there with the energy crisis. Yeah, we're very fortunate.
I'm not saying anything. You guys just laugh at me every time.
But getting back to like Nick's manifestation document of earlier, he's obviously embraced that to the full extent and even then some. But if you're wanting to achieve things and you're wanting to do stuff with your music, with your career, you might as well be positive because you're going to get knocked back so many times. You're going to have so many no's. You're going to have such a hard time trying to promote your stuff that you might as well have a positive mindset about it and be like, oh.
Interesting that it's not unique. I think all the roadblocks that I've come across are consistent across the board, and it's not even just our industry. I think I haven't worked in a normal job.
Yep.
Careful how I say this, but I haven't been employed. I've always been self-employed, which is a very steep learning curve.
Unemployable.
Oh, well, okay.
Unmanageable, unemployable.
This is why the headspace can sometimes get a little bit, when things get tight, because I think most of my stress is financial. And that's to do with the fact that I'm not financially literate. I'm going to be, but it's generally like, what needs to happen? How much does that cost? Let's throw that. Oh, quiet month. The business is going to like suffer because of that. What do we do? Freak out. And the thing is I'm unmanageable and unemployable. So if, for instance, God forbid, anything happened to the business, what would I do? And I don't need to worry about that. I just need to stay positive and push forward because thinking backwards does not achieve anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not even worth thinking about.
It's not. And I've learned that now after 8 years of freaking out.
Well, I'm not on the other side, but I'm rocking two jobs in a way. Like I've got all this music stuff that I'm trying to do, but then I've also got my day job. And it's tough as an artist because like you get drained by the end of the days.
Yeah.
Like to finish a full day of work and then be like, okay, I got dinner to take care of. I got this to do. I got 2 hours tonight. Do I want to jump on COD for an hour and then scroll TikTok for an hour? Or do I want to try and find this energy within me and open up Ableton?
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, it's been harder to do that. But I also feel like I'm kind of stuck to my job a bit as well because I like having that income and like it's so important to have money.
And you need it for your artist career as well.
Yeah.
You need it for ads, you need it for promo, you need it for photos, you need it for all sorts of stuff, flights if you're doing that.
Yeah, you got to invest back into yourself.
So it's just a balance. And I think what you're doing as well with having like 1 day a week where you're like music this day.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it because you wake up that day and you're pumped to just make the most of the day. Whether if you're trying to do it at night time for a couple of hours, it's hard.
Yeah, I feel so fortunate. I've been able to work either early on it was casual work and then I went to full time for 6 months. I was like, nope. And then that was terrible. I was working like the Aquatic Centre where it was like 5 a.m. starts. Yeah.
Is
terrible.
that right?
Yeah, dude, it sucks so much.
Yep.
That made me realize like I only did a 6-month contract to just help them out. And I was like, nah, it's not good. I don't like this. So then I went to part-time where I was doing 3 days a week and that was like the best. But as I got older and COVID hit, I was like, well, I'm just sitting here doing nothing on my days off. Because like the music industry obviously like tanked for a bit and everyone was trying to figure out what are we going to do? What are we doing now? Like content wasn't what it is now. I wasn't on the forefront of it being like, I'm going to start pushing live streams and clips. So I was kind of just sitting there twiddling my thumbs being like, well, what am I doing? And then I realized I wasn't really doing much on those 2 days off. And so I was like, all right, I'll pick up another day at work. And that's where I'm at now, 4 days a week, 1 day off.
That's awesome.
Weekends.
And that 1 day off, you come here.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm excited. Like you said, I'm excited to like, coming here in the morning it was easier waking up today than it was yesterday and going to the city for work, like it was awesome to come here.
And I think eventually, I know this, the business model is that you will transition into this full time, whether it's as Chief Street, the artist, or the engineer that works at Matrix or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be great for everybody to come along for that journey. And it's early days for everyone. I'm, like I said earlier, I'm totally in over my head. I'm in the deep end, loving it, absolutely loving it. But yeah, I work full time for other people here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in kind of the same boat. I'd like to get 1 day a week that's just for M4 Sonic. We'll get there.
Yeah.
If everyone can blow up Chief Street's new song, Hibachi, in
Yeah,
a week's
Hibachi's
time.
out. Congratulations on the release, man.
Nick's
I haven't
next
listened
week.
to it.
Next week it's out.
Oh,
Next
what's the
Thursday,
song you just
remember?
dropped that I haven't listened to?
No, what Fit In? That was before. This is the one.
Yeah,
though.
this
This
is
is
the
on
one.
Global as well.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah,
Everyone blow it
Yeah.
up so Chief can retire from his day
next
job.
Thursday.
Next Thursday. And then I'm Friday.
Yeah.
Collateral.
So, yeah, Collateral. Cool.
Big banger.
So they both out on Global. What is yours? Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
all my stuff's going on Global.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Big
Yeah.
week.
Lots of data entry for Luke.
Send some emails for us, mate.
We'll do.
Chop chop.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to need to get Luke back because I think there's heaps more we can talk about with especially the Ibiza trip, but just in general.
Yep.
So expect to see a lot more of Luke and Chief, obviously. We're going to try and get some more guests on pretty soon.
I think there's someone exciting coming next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything because you know what happens. People get sick or
Yeah.
whatever. But we do intend to have some guests coming in. So stay tuned for that. We're kind of changing the way that this content goes out in that it's probably going to be longer form, less edited. I feel like that's kind of the podcast that I've been listening to. I'm on the fence. I listen to ones that are really, really, really good and really well edited, and then I listen to the ones that I just listen to, and it's just like I'm there in the room, and I'm not sure which one I want.
I like the more relaxed vibe, but that's just me. But a bit of a combination between both.
Well, in terms of manifestation, where I see this going is that we will take this to the room next door that's currently being built, which is about, not exaggerating, 8 times the size of this room.
Easy.
And it will have a more relaxed vibe. It's very much TV orientated. We'll probably be on couch when we're interviewing, but I'd also like to have a small select live audience. So we'd effectively invite a handful of people.
Who's
canned
holding up the
laughter?
applause sign?
Yeah. No, not like that. But and
Laugh track.
potentially,
Applause.
I don't know how you feel about this, like, but potentially live stream it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, it could be a TikTok live stream or something.
Level it up.
I
Increase the stress.
increase the stress, all the single points of failure, and the community engagement I think would be really interesting. When I've done other podcasts in here with other people, we've had people sitting along the back here, and it does change the dynamic massively.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a better way, absolutely.
Yeah, because increase the banter and the energy.
Yeah.
Well, because I remember the first time someone sat in on our episode, I was like a bit nervous to begin with. But I think I've slowly settled into this whole thing as we go. But yeah, I was like, someone's watching and they're not involved, but they can hear everything I'm saying. It's like someone eavesdropping almost.
Yeah, you want the engagement without the distraction. It's a fine line. Anyway, to wrap this up, thank you everybody that has been tuning in, listening and following along. We hope you are enjoying the series. It's just going to ramp up from here, I think. If you do have questions though, what we're going to try and do is make this more timely. So we sort of recorded a bunch of episodes and we've sort of been staggering them. I think what we'll probably do is record the week and then release the following. Yep. So if you've got a question for Luke, say you're in the music industry and you want to know some more information, question for Luke, hit us up and we'll get Luke back to answer it. And the same for Chief and I. And DM us on Insta, whatever, or YouTube comments.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, we're holding you accountable and we're about to go respond to some comments now, aren't we?
We're going to go have another coffee, respond to some comments, and then we'll see you next week.
And now, your local forecast.